What's good, YouTube? Dmgaming here, guys, and yes, we are back with another Dragon Ball Z Kakarot video, guys, and today I want to give my review on Dragon Ball Z Kakarot's 4th DLC, Bardock Alone Against Fate. Now, I've been done playing the DLC for a couple days now. I've just been letting everything marinate, you know. I found that if you get in there and you hop and do a review as soon as it's done, there are things that can get in the way of giving an honest review. Now, the biggest thing, first and foremost, just straight out the way, people are asking, is the DLC worth it? And I'm going to tell you that up front instead of waiting until the end. Yes, in my personal opinion, the DLC is worth it. People feel that the DLC is too short. However, I played all the subquests. I mean, you could go check the channel for the live stream. Actually took me around 2 days worth, but I live streamed for a significant amount of time. But I would suspect if you were to do all the subquests and the main mission, you're looking anywhere between 2.5 to 3 hours, maybe 3, 4, somewhere in that range. It's the length of a typical story arc, you know, a little shorter story arc. It's longer than the 2 boss battles put together, but it's really not as long as people might think. We were spoiled by the History of Trunks. History of Trunks DLC was a bit longer, but there was a bit more content in that story. What made the History of Trunks DLC a bit longer was the addition of the Deborah Majin Buu stuff there at the end. We got an addition to the Kid Vegeta stuff at the end, which I'll talk about that here in a second, but it was extremely short. You know what I'm saying? Really, like, you had 1, 2, 3 fights, you know, 2 fights in a Hordes modes battle fight, you know, that's it. But as far as it being worth it, yes, to me personally, this is my opinion, just like everybody else gives their opinion. My opinion was that, yes, it is worth it. I feel that this DLC was done almost as well as you could ask. If people, you know, listening to people talk about the DLC, some of the main gripes or downputs that I've heard as far as rating the DLC is the fact that, oh, we didn't get Super Saiyan Bardock. I don't feel that that is a knock against the DLC itself, simply because that's not how the story went. That would just be extra, and it's not something that you can, it's not something that's necessary in telling the story of Bardock. Now, if you're looking at it in a sense of content, I get it, but saying, oh, we didn't get Super Saiyan Bardock, oh, this is a bad DLC. No, that's not justifiably correct and accurate to do. Now, were there some hit and misses? Most definitely. My biggest gripe in this DLC, it's not the story. Because, guys, if you play the subquest, you get a sense for their camaraderie. You get a sense of what's actually going on. And, you know, there's not a lot of emotional moments, because you have to remember you're dealing with Saiyans at a time when Saiyans aren't emotional individuals. You see what I'm saying? That's clearly shown even with Kid Vegeta, and in the main game when they flash to Vegeta. When he finds out that planet Vegeta was destroyed, he wasn't distraught and sad. He was just like, hey, that's what they get for being weak, basically. You know what I'm saying? So if you go through and play the subquest, then you are going to have a different experience. Now, I'm not talking about rushing through the subquest just for the sake of getting them done. I'm talking about actually listening to the dialogue, paying attention to what's going on, incorporating that into your judgment of the game. Then you are going to have a different outlook, and you're going to have a different experience, as opposed to those who just, hey, I want to get on YouTube and get this content out as quick as possible, so let me fly through and do all the main story kind of deals. That's where people are going to get a different experience. Or, hey, let me just rush through the subquest so I can get to the main story. You know, or those people that, hey, I just want to get to the end so that I can see if there's a Lord Shield or see if there's Toe and Mira involved. You know, you're going to get a different outlook. And I don't think you can truly review this DLC in that regard. Now, people, you know, even myself, you know, we have the History of Trunks as a baseline for story DLCs in the game. Does that make sense? So with that being said, you know, if we're basing it off of that as far as what's a good DLC, because History of Trunks, in my opinion, was a 10 out of 10. it was knocked it out of the ballpark as far as emotions and things like that. They would throw an ad in there, guys. We just gonna skip the ad. I'm looking at the live stream on this. Y'all just bear with me on that. Okay. This is from my live stream of actually playing the game. So with that being said, History of Trunks as a baseline. Is this a 10 out of 10 DLC? I would have to give it, I would personally give it a 9 out of 10. A 9 out of 10. A lot of people I've heard giving it a 6. Some people giving it a 7. I've heard 8. I'll give it a 9. Nobody's giving it a 10 out of 10. Only reason I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 is simply because while I understand them not giving us the grade A transformation to use at all times, because yes, you do require a full moon, I will say that when they were on Planet Kanasa, you know, before they went, we were in the Saiyan Hangout, and they were even talking about, you know, teasing. Bora was teasing about being able to go Great Ape and stuff, and it's going to be a full moon and stuff. Even when we got there, and they even had a cutscene with the Great Apes. I feel like it was a really big missed opportunity by not allowing us to at least play as Great Apes. You know, even in the Annihilation event, you know, I understand like in this particular one that you're seeing now, yeah, there's no full moon. But the one on Planet Kanasa, oh my God, would that have been amazing if they had allowed us to play as Great Ape during that particular point in time. Similar to how in the main story, Gotenks isn't a playable character, but we get to at least walk around with him at the World Tournament Arena, you know, kind of deal, you know. Or similar to the History of Trunks, how Gohan is not a playable character after the DLC is done, which I knew that, but it was still cool to be able to fight and play with him for a little bit. I feel like that was a majorly missed opportunity. Now, let's be real. Let me be real with y'all, okay? And don't go jump into the defense like, you know, listen to what I'm telling you guys. When these developers, they want to do this, they want the same things that we want, okay? But they are at the will and mercy of Bandai Namco, not only for time, but also financially. You know, I don't know anybody who's a Dragon Ball fan who has the power to create a Dragon Ball game and, you know, you have the opportunity to play as a Great Ape and they say, no, I don't want to play as a Great Ape. No, I'm pretty sure the developers wanted us to be able to experience that, guys. But there's a lot on the table that people don't consider when developing a game. There's some things that just have to be left out due to time constraint and or financial constraints. I don't know if that's 100% what happened, but I'm willing to bet it's somewhere along those lines because you have to consider this. Not only were the developers, you know, CyberConnect 2, who is not a majorly large studio, having to work on a free update for the game, but they also had to work on this DLC at the same time while also dealing with Cards Warriors. So I'm not making an excuse for them, guys. It is what it is. You could believe me or you could just write me off. I really personally don't care. But I'm telling you the truth, that these developers want some of the same things that we want in this game. Now, and that can also be the reason why the DLC is not as lengthy as people would have liked. However, every story, every main mission in this DLC told precisely the exact story of Bardock. So I don't know what people were wanting as far as a longer DLC. I think they were hoping, you know, even myself, I in no way expected the Prince Vegeta stuff, but I was, you know, looking at maybe getting the Lord Shield. That would have, and it was justified. It was justified. It would have given us the Super Saiyan transformation, which is either hit or miss. I mean, it ain't like you playing with Bardock in the main game, so why does it matter? But also because it would have given us something to do after the game. It would have made sense for Bardock being able to be alive, because one of my biggest things was that, hey, there has to be something after the main story, because it doesn't make sense for them to blow up Planet Vegeta and then us go back to Planet Vegeta back before it happened. Lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. And that's my other knock on this DLC. We were placed back on Planet Vegeta without any explanation as to what happened. Now, it's up to our imaginations, and one can clearly speculate that, oh, the event was just a premonition. Yeah, it could have just been a premonition. You know what I'm saying? However, my issues with that is the fact that after we were put back on Planet Vegeta, we were giving the Prince Vegeta's story, which I'm going to get to that after this. But let me say this. If we're put back on Planet Vegeta before that time, then they should have made Prince Vegeta playable. They should have made Prince Vegeta able to free roam around Planet Vegeta. Okay, so that's my other strike. My third strike in this DLC, and why I can't give it a 10 out of 10, is because of the Annihilation events. I like them. I love them. I understand the concept of them. However, I would have really enjoyed, this is my thing, my whole gripe with Kakarot, period. My biggest complaint with the game, period, aside from training, is the fact of no true end game. And I feel that instead of doing the training thing that they did at the end of the game, at the end of the DLC, that had they did a training, let's say where they did procedurally generated planets with procedurally generated enemies and procedurally generated different power levels, that would have given people a breath of fresh air as far as training goes. So now you're conquering these different planets and getting stronger the way that Saiyans really did. You know what I'm saying? Instead, we got to replay two of the same ones over and over and over again. You know what I'm saying? And I understand about the procedurally generated thing. That's something that has to be built into the core structure of the game. So I get that. I'm just saying it would have been really, really cool. And the way that they advertised this in the V-Jump even more kind of stressed or put to the point that we were going to be able to go to all of these different planets and defeat them, you know what I'm saying, and conquer them. However, that wasn't the case. And while I'm not just horribly upset about that, you know what I'm saying, it would have been something that would have given longevity to the story as well as longevity towards the end game. Now, the Planet Vegeta thing, the Prince Vegeta thing, I was a huge fan of this. Like I told y'all before, I did a video and I posted it in the last video. I posted it on my Twitter. I did a video 3 years ago, back when the game was still Project Z, over 3 years ago, 4 years ago, when it was still Project Z, about a Kid Vegeta storyline. Lo and behold, they put it in the game, guys. Now, it is extremely short and it is extremely lacking. However, you do get to level up Prince Vegeta. You do get to do some sort of free roam with him on the alien planet, the long-tailed planet is what they call it, the long-tailed alien planet. So that it is cool. I mean, I get it. But like I said, once again, missed opportunity, because with Prince Vegeta playable and the fact that Vegeta still went to conquer planets even after Planet Vegeta was destroyed up until the time he came to Earth, it would have been even better had they made it to where you had a mode in the game with the Annihilation events that were procedurally generated. All you needed was about 3 or 4 different alien races and 3 or 4 different locations. And then, you know, 3 or 4 different names, and you can mix those up. Procedurally generated means it's random. You can get one, you know, you have at that point, what, 16 different possible combinations. So that would have been really, really cool to have in the game. Yet and still, this DLC was good to me, in my personal opinion. Another ad. Y'all just excuse the ads, man. Y'all know how it is on the channel. I'm using my footage for this. You know, I'm doing this off the fly because I got another video coming up about the next DLC that y'all are going to want to watch. All right. So the story of this DLC was typical. It was the story that you expected. It was told well. The cutscenes were done well. I found it fun to fight Zarbon them and the minions and Doria. Like the ending of this DLC, in my opinion, is what saved it. The final boss fight against the Doria, against the Frieza soldiers, the Doria and Frieza, was good. However, the Frieza fight, in my personal opinion, was too easy. I remember in the live stream, I was like, yo, let me make sure I don't have this on easy, because that wasn't hard at all. It really wasn't hard at all. Now, the DLC itself is fairly simple. The game is fairly simple for the most part. I died more in the main story than I did against Frieza. I don't think I died playing the boss battle, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think I did. Maybe once. I don't know. You have to check the live stream. I have to go back and check that. Frieza's boss fight is not very difficult at all. His attacks are very easy to avoid. it's just, to me, not very well done. Now, at the same time, you have to consider this. That never happened in the story. Frieza never went to those links to fight Bardock in that way in the story. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah. And then also, my issue with it is the fact that we were able to do damage to Frieza and stuff. You know what I'm saying? That never happened. I really like the idea that I had for the boss fight, in that we fight off waves of Frieza soldiers. Yeah, you could have kept Dabura in there. That was a nice twist. But also that whenever Frieza goes surge mode, you just avoid his attacks and then you fight off more waves of Frieza soldiers and that dwindles, quote unquote, the boss's health until the event where he destroys the planet. Now, I know people probably wouldn't have liked that very much, but it would have been realistic in a sense to do that in the game, in the DLC. Regardless, it wasn't done, and we were left with the boss fight that was lacking, in my opinion. However, in the same breath, I understand, because what type of attacks could you add to Frieza that he didn't do in the main game that were, you know, you don't want to make him more powerful and extravagant than Golden Frieza, because let's be honest, even to this point right now, even today, Golden Frieza is a tougher boss fight than Frieza right now in the Bardock DLC, which that's justified because it's Golden Frieza. You get what I'm saying? So, you know, that part I can live with. The part that is even more interesting to me and was pretty cool to experience was seeing Dodoria, seeing his new attacks and things like that. And it's like, wow, you know, I really wish, you know, they added this stuff into the main game. Like, why wasn't Dodoria this powerful in the main game? It's almost as if they're starting to learn from their mistakes, because even in the Trunks DLC, the androids were more powerful, which that is true to the story. The androids in Trunks timeline were more powerful, more ruthless, so it made sense to give them more and better attacks than what you did in the main storyline. You see what I'm saying? Overall, the DLC was good. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the story, and maybe because I didn't go into it expecting the history of Trunks per se. You know, I still give it a 9 out of 10. Really more because the Prince Vegeta stuff at the end, and now I want to cover that. People are upset because Lord Shield wasn't in it. They like the Kid Vegeta stuff, but they would rather have had the Lord Shield stuff. And I'm sitting here thinking, and I'm talking to people in the live stream about it. Guys, you have to consider it like this. They had a choice. Okay? Granted, no game has had the Lord Shield, but no game has allowed you to play with Kid Vegeta. And so I feel like they had a choice. Like, yeah, we could do the Lord Chill stuff, give them Super Saiyan, Bardock, blase, blase. Or we could allow them to play as Kid Vegeta. Allow them to get a sense of who Vegeta was. Because a real thing that this game does a really good job of giving some backdrop. Now, with that being said, they never even showed King Vegeta. That's a minus mark right there. But by them giving us the Prince Vegeta storyline, I was really ecstatic. And this was before I even remembered that I did a video about a Kid Vegeta storyline for the game. Okay, and in that video, I talked about Raditz as well, which they never even showed Raditz. Yet and still, if you ask me, would I rather have Lord Shield or a Prince Vegeta storyline, I would rather have the Prince Vegeta storyline. Because I'm a Vegeta fanboy, so I'm probably biased in that sense. But I want y'all to think about this. You know, people say, well, why couldn't they have done both? Yeah, it would have been cool to do both, but then we wouldn't have been able to have the little small free roam part with Prince Vegeta. Okay. Also, you know, once we're back on Lord Shield, or, you know, the old planet Vegeta with Lord Shield, what are you going to do? You're essentially defeating Lord Shield, and then you're just stuck on this planet. You know what I'm saying? It is my belief that at some point in time, guys, Toa and Mira are going to get involved in these DLCs. And you might say, but DM, they're separate. No, not so much. DLC 1 and 2, Boss Battle 1 and 2, they are very tightly connected to the point that when you're in the Frieza DLC, you can literally go back to Beerus's planet. So in a sense, they're sort of connected. It's nothing for them to connect them like that. There is a reason that they brought Bardock and planted Vegeta back to life. And I don't think it was just for the sake of, oh, so we can have the game alive. You know what I'm saying? Or so you can have stuff to do. You get what I'm saying? There is a reason why in the main game we can level up to 300. And in this DLC, in the Trunks DLC as well, we can level up so much well beyond what the story mode implemented. And well beyond what the training implemented. Because I feel at some point there's going to come a DLC where it's going to be necessary for us to be max level. Otherwise, why allow us to do it? Doesn't make sense. You get what I'm saying? So, all in all, guys, is the DLC worth it? Yeah. Is the season pass worth it? If you are going to buy all 3 DLCs for the season pass, it is in your best interest to buy the season pass. Or you could just wait till all 3 of them are out and buy them individually. This next DLC that I'm going to be talking about in my next video that I may even drop tonight, guys, this one could be the DLC that transformed Dragon Ball Z Kakarot into a whole nother level. A whole nother level. Okay, but overall, I give the DLC a 9. I really enjoyed it. The story was great. The combat, man, the combos. I didn't even talk about the combos, bruh. We got some new combos, even with Prince Vegeta. And that's another knock, because I really wish they had took those 2 new moves for Prince Vegeta and allowed us to put him on Vegeta in the main story, simply because, hey, he used them when he was a kid. Bardock's combos are good, and it opens the door for something that I'm going to talk about with the next DLC as well. We're starting to see something take shape. We're starting to see things take shape, and they're starting to build on things. So overall, like I said, 9 out of 10 for me. Another great DLC. Now, if it didn't have the Prince Vegeta part, I probably would have given it a 7.5 to an 8 out of 10, simply because they should have allowed us to play as great apes. And at that particular point in the story, that was a humongously missed opportunity, especially by teasing us with it. You know, so that's the only hang up, the main hang up. Actually, that's about the only hang up I have with this DLC as well. Really wish they had an implemented training. With it being on the Saiyan planet, that would have been a grand opportunity for them to implement training for us to get stronger as well. Simply because there's nobody here, and an ad would pop up here towards the end of the video. I'm just going to click over here, man. Simply because at the end of the DLC, you know, or even in the DLC, there's nobody that actually makes full course meals. We see them sit down at the table. And I told y'all from the trailer that that's not a full course meal. You could tell it was a cutscene because one of the other Saiyans was talking. This one right here was talking. Oh, it was this one. Oh, it was this one. Anyway, he was talking. So with that being said, I understand why they didn't, you know, I was like, you know, they should have done something more as far as training goes to help increase stats, because now you don't really, you have the full course meal deal, but it's not like you sitting at a table eating. So, you know, that goes that. However, that opportunity is still alive, especially with the next DLC, which I am going to be covering, and you do not want to miss it. So subscribe to the channel now. Turn on bell icon so you don't miss a single upload, guys. Till next time, y'all. I'm out. Thanks for watching. Peace.